Today's Monday, June 23rd. This is the Bounding Life Infrastructure Committee. I'm here, Councilmember Mosier Campoli.
Yep, I'm here.
Councilmember Welsh Russo.
I'm here.
Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes.
Any changes? Everything looks okay?
Yep. No, looks good to me.
Okay. First topic, noise ordinance, garbage collection, input from private haulers. I see we have two from Casella out here. So how do you want to do this, Greg? Just have them talk, or?
That's up to you. I mean, I think we've had a petition. Have you seen the petition that was out there?
No, we have not seen that.
Okay. So there was
Just what I've read about in the newspaper.
Okay.
All right,
So
so we
I don't know
have-
how they captured it, but go ahead.
So I guess just a kind of a down, quick thing, synopsis of it is, we had a petition and some people come in front of us about pick up of trash being early in the morning, about 5 o'clock, and they wondered if 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, if they could make it later. And there was an ordinance before that was starting to set the time. Didn't know how it all came to be. City staff started talking to us a little bit about some of it was because of Center City and trying to stay away from school buses and not tie up traffic. And before we go and make a decision that could be hard on you guys, be hard on the city, or make things worse, even though we're trying to make things better, we wanted to try to bring in some private, the haulers to kind of give us some feedback on, maybe like why 5 o'clock versus 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. And, some of that was started, I think, probably right around the time that the transfer station started opening up as well, when they moved to that different. So that's kind of the synopsis of it all and how we got to this point, and kind of looking at some feedback on some potential areas of problems that you guys see, or maybe you guys have some suggestions being in the field that we can move forward that might be, better as a whole, as, because the city's changed in the last couple decades from when this is all started. So. But does that sound about right?
That sums it up.
Yeah.
So
Should I stand, sit?
whatever you want to do, whatever.
So
This is more of an informal of the meetings than the council meeting, so.
So I'm Adam Criggy, I'm the division manager of Oleana Casella. We service about 2,500 to 3,000 residents within the city of Oleana. We stay quite busy. I read the article in the newspaper. I understand the concerns of everybody within the city. What makes it hard is we do 5 o'clock in the morning. We used to do 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. We pushed it back to 5, probably about 8 years ago, due to the complaints. 5 o'clock still allows us to get out of the high traffic areas before school buses start coming in, before OPT schedule starts. 5 o'clock allows us out of those areas and allows us to move to the outskirts of the city and then work our way out, because obviously we service all of Otsego County. The big problem that would come in if the time was later is that the transfer stations are only open to 3 p.m. The DEC does not allow us to keep trash on our vehicles overnight, so every garbage truck has to be emptied before 3 p.m. So if we push the time back to, let's say, 7 o'clock, right now, my drivers finish usually about 10 minutes to 3 is their last load at the transfer station on the days that we service inside Oleana. So it would make it near impossible to pick up all the trash off the streets to be able to get it there to the transfer station, which obviously with the deer population we have, the children on the street after school, things like that, we don't want to be out on the streets of the city at 2:30 when the buses are going around. We don't want to be out on the streets in Oleana in the high areas where the bus stops are at 7:30 when they're around. We try and hit early, hit those areas and get away from them. So, I mean, personally speaking, it would upset the apple cart a lot for Casella, but safety-wise within the city more than anything else, that it would cause a lot of issues.
So to do the reverse, to start out and then work your way in, doesn't make sense from a safety perspective.
3 days a week where we don't leave Oleana with our residential trucks.
Uh-huh.
There's more than enough work that it fills all 3 days.
Mhm.
And that's just residential, that's not even counting the commercial trucks that handle all the businesses.
That was my one question.
Sorry, we're trying to take notes,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of information, like that
Mhm.
first, 2 minutes there.
Alright.
No, that's good.
Our trucks usually leave our yard, about 3:45 in the morning, and we head to the outskirts, so we head all, all the way up outside, through the town more than the city, and then we come, Winnie Hill Road area and all that, and then we come back into the city at 5 to start searching the city and trying to get out of there by noon.
And from what you know, has Casella ever done a later time? It's only done the earlier time?
We've done the earlier time.
Just the earlier
Due
time.
to the transfer stations.
Uh-huh.
Trying to get into our transfer stations from 12 o'clock on, when every resident is bringing their trash down, and every hauler from outside our area is coming into Otsego County to dump, makes it a lot harder. We wouldn't be able to service everybody in the day if we did that.
Okay. The transfer station, do you guys have anything to do with the times of that, or is that set by the county?
That's set by the DEC.
Set by the DEC. DEC says it has to be done at 3 o'clock.
And and the terms of our contract with the county goes off of DEC. So
Okay.
it's a 7 to 3, see. Most of your transfer stations throughout the state are set to those hours. It's Schoharie County, we have the same hours. Cooperstown is even a tighter window, they're at 7 to 12.
Okay.
Anything else?
I don't think I have any other
Not on
questions.
my end,
Yeah.
no. That was thorough.
Mhm. Thank you for taking time to be here tonight.
No, thank you for the invite, thus, to speak on this.
Yeah.
Is there a way that, I know Greg types a lot faster, but would you be able to send some written, what you discussed here, so I can,
Absolutely.
to you guys, so we can distribute it to the council as well? 'Cause I think that's a lot of information
Mhm.
that I think that they need to listen to as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just
You
send
can
it
send it to me,
Greg.
I'll share it.
Yeah.
I've got you.
So, as we work further on it, but
Absolutely.
it sounds like it's kind of a tight window even at 5 o'clock,
Yeah, yeah.
so.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been kind of condensed as much as possible at this point from what I'm hearing already.
We'd be more than happy if you needed to come back and talk to the whole council.
Okay.
We have no issue with that.
So basically, if I just wanna make sure I get this right, you guys at 5 o'clock start in Center City, then you branch out. So the outer parts of the city probably shouldn't really see much until like 7, 8 o'clock.
The outer parts of the city, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So we separate on our 3 days almost into zones. So,
Okay.
a lot of our, especially now, during this time period, a lot of the residential merchant times week, because of the baseball rentals, and that it's the same for the college students. So there's a lot of times where 2 days within the city getting the same spots. And now, I mean, we keep getting bigger, we just contracted to take all the prime rentals, we did all the trash for them, all the Peter Park rentals. So it's even more on our plate to try and get in. It's good because it takes a lot of the smaller vehicles out of the city, you don't have as many haulers working within the limits. But it also creates more of a time crunch to fit it all into that time period. We'd be happy to take on all the trash for the whole city of Oleana, and keep everybody else out. And then you could just have one truck in the city.
It's funny, I think my first meeting on quality life that we had, when I first got put on it with a different council, was we talked about looking into a citywide
Service.
trash service.
Mhm.
We just did it in Niagara Falls, because they had 18 different haulers in Niagara Falls.
Wow.
And they contracted with Casella, so that there's just 3 garbage trucks a day from Casella on the streets instead of all the trucks. So it's, knock on wood, so far so good.
So, broader conversations, I mean, like, we looked at it for like 30 seconds, but then everything else went, we
Yeah.
go on to something else, but, you know, that's,
That's a tough one.
yes. So, well, I appreciate your time, and thank you for sending that up to Greg, and so you can get around.
Absolutely, I'll get it over to you tomorrow.
Perfect, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Behave.
See you guys.
Oh, that was actually quicker than I thought it would be. I thought that we'd be talking for like an hour on it.
Oh, really? Going back and forth, you think?
Yeah,
More
there's a lot of
often?
information right there.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
a lot of good information.
Yep.
we put
But,
in.
you know, I think the key well, to me, having the DEC have this ordinance
Right.
Yeah.
is a constraint,
Yeah,
like a real constraint.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, because how do you get in,
That's right.
plus all the other haulers that come in?
That's right.
Right, and they balance out those concerns, you know, along with the safety and, you know, making sure that they can really do a thorough job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And this might be a conversation we're gonna have to involve the county in too, about, is there a way that we can get trucks in if we had to do something
Yeah.
time-wise? So. Alright, let's see, a request for convex mirror, West Street and Ravine Parkway. I know we talked about this before, the mayor kinda brought it back, cause
The mayor did?
Yeah, cause I.
because the
I'm surprised it's
constituent
on here.
reached out and I said, well, we made a decision that we weren't gonna do it because, one was like a liability, who does
Right.
it, it's not an approved
Like traffic.
traffic
device or
thing
something,
with the
right?
state, and, what's gonna happen that way, but I just asked it to be brought back just to make sure that that's how we felt, so we can get something out to the constituent that, yeah, we looked at this, we've kinda, this is a done deal, we're not gonna put one up there.
That was my understanding, was that, yeah, we thoroughly discussed
So-
that and that it was,
Yeah.
not advised, or regulated, I can't remember the wording that was used, traffic.
Yeah.
It's not,
Oh,
it's
sorry.
not an approved traffic device.
Thank you,
Yes.
that's right.
And I think, Greg, did you include the sight distance thing that Mo did for us?
Yep.
Is that what that one was?
Yeah,
This-
it shows
okay,
how much we have, we
Yeah.
have plenty of sight distance.
alright, cause I saw there were also the reports here on, it looks like crash data.
Yeah, so the purpose of the accident reports is to inform us that this is a dangerous location for the city, is that the?
No,
Intention?
I would not say that. I think that was requested. I think there was discussion about coming back with some data, accident report history, and
Oh,
flight
okay.
distance analysis.
Have we, okay, so we had asked for it.
I believe that was my takeaway from
I
it.
believe we
Yeah,
probably
you guys
did.
had asked about
Yeah.
accident data, and I
Oh.
sent an email that you
Oh, yeah.
asked for the data. I did, or you did, I can't remember who did, but somebody did.
You,
One of them.
yeah.
The one thing I do wanna mention, if I can, this intersection, I'm not sure that there need to be 2 roadway entrances into that location. I would like to, at some point, not anytime soon, but in the future design of that
Yeah.
roadway intersection, I'd like to see it perpendicular to West Street and not have one this way and one this way. I'd like to reconstruct that roadway so we have a perpendicular intersection rather than this skewed intersection, because that will make, entry and exit that much easier. But that's probably a 10-year plan, we'll say.
So it would be a one-way turn to the right as opposed to left or
You
right?
could turn left or right.
Currently, and so you would,
Yeah.
your proposal is to just have it right-only lane.
No, what
Turn.
I'm saying is I would eliminate both of those, that roadway splits at the
Instead of
end.
doing that, just have.
I would
one
eliminate
option.
that split and just do one road segment.
Oh, yes, I see.
The regular T
Yeah,
intersection.
yep,
Yes.
yep.
So then, I think part of the complaint from constituent was, so if you face this way, it's
Mhm.
kinda hard to look
Yeah.
over your shoulder
Yeah.
and see.
Yep.
Yeah,
Even
Right.
though the sight distance is there, it's just difficult as a
it's
person
awkward,
mover, so
yeah.
You know,
T
all the-
intersection makes it a little better.
All the trees and stuff are trimmed back, right, so that's not,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, my personal opinion hasn't changed on it,
Yeah,
I don't think it's a good idea to put it there, it's not.
no, especially if it's not an approved.
Sorry, Chris, I was thinking this is, the map obviously is what I should have been looking at. I was thinking this was, the Hartwick exit and entrance, but this is the SUNY.
It's all right.
They're both
That's where we're at.
sort of
They're-
mangled.
they're
as-
both kinda
as-
bad.
Yeah, they
They
are.
are.
Now, wasn't there sign in the middle of that triangle? Was that sign, was there a sign
so.
something there in the middle of the triangle at one point? Was there
In
something?
the middle,
there-
or I think to
There
the
used to
side.
be perhaps, but their new sign is,
The new sign makes
Set
it
back.
perfect for us to
Away.
make this change.
It's
Yeah.
here, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think so.
So I think I would like to do that design change if and when we ever have a chance to redesign
Yeah.
that entrance.
Yeah. Has the university said, SUNY said anything about it, or no?
This is just my perception. Greg and I were talking about this recently.
Uh-huh.
Wanted to make that change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know I was thinking about the Hartwick entrance, because there is a concave mirror there. At the
Oh, we
west-
talked, and we
yes,
talked about that.
And we used that as a
didn't know
comparison,
who
right?
had, yeah.
Right.
I'm not really sure we've ever come to a conclusion on who puts that up.
No.
When it gets broke, all of a sudden no one knew.
Somebody,
There's another one?
somebody said that it keeps going up, but I don't think we know who.
I can tell you it does not come out of my budget, I do not, so.
So I had a concern about another mirror. So there's at least a half a dozen of them that I
I've
know
seen
in
a
the city.
couple, yeah,
There's one on Clinton for someone's driveway entrance, but that's their driveway.
okay.
There's one up, it's on Center and
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt.
Oh.
There's one there. And someone we all know, asked about trimming some branches there. And, I told him it wasn't an approved traffic device and I don't know. I don't know what to do about the ones that are in place that aren't approved traffic devices.
Is there any city policy about them, in terms of like their use, or people could just put them up?
I don't know how they got there originally.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah,
really not
so
aware.
we don't have anything, it sounds like, to regulate them,
No, we can take them down
yeah.
if they're in the city right away.
Mhm.
That's somebody with Dave Merzig. And he knew
Really?
that it wasn't an approved traffic
Was?
device.
He's trouble.
Oh, goodness. All right,
Yeah, so I mean, I'm. like I
Yeah,
said,
me too.
yeah.
Alright, so I'll let him know that.
I mean, I'm glad that
Appreciate the
accident,
information.
yes, of
Yep.
course, always, but,
Mhm.
I think because it is not, I would say for the argument I would put forward is that because it is not an approved safety
Mhm.
mechanism, then I don't think it's something we should move forward with. And maybe we need a policy, maybe the city needs a policy about them, or no?
Good look at that. Yeah. About whether to keep them or remove them.
Right.
It's another study we could conduct to sometime.
You know, West and Clinton's gonna be a hard one. That intersection's horrible no matter which way you're coming,
Horrible.
Mhm.
so.
And actually, I do use that one. I mean, I do find it useful because it's such a terrible intersection,
Yeah,
if you can even call it that.
it's kinda weird.
What those mirrors really indicate to me, and Greg, you disagree, it means that something needs to be looked at, right? If you can't get out of an
Yeah.
intersection without convex mirror, there's an issue there.
Yeah.
Whether it's the road alignments to one another, or if there needs to be a traffic signal, something needs to be
Something,
evaluated.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
100%. But, you know, back in the old days when they started building the neighborhoods around, you didn't think about that,
That's right.
so.
You have the cars, the number of cars.
Not that I wanna
Yeah.
add any more traffic signals.
Okay, so we heard it here, Chris wants more stop signs. All right, next one is off-street parking lot regulation update.
I don't have the list in front of me of what we decided for what nights.
So this is, yeah, we're looking at our city-owned public off-street lots, so the Deep Street lot, Wall Street lot, the Westcott lot, the new 47 Market Street lot that will be in existence soon. Sorry, I'm just pulling this over. So previously, in the city code, I can't remember exactly what it says currently, but there was a certain night of the week for each of these lots where there's no parking allowed at all, or at least in certain sections of them. We'd like to change that and make it something that works with our maintenance schedule a little bit better and works with what we're trying to do. So what we'd like to propose is the south section of the Deep Street parking lot, which is the section that's directly behind the new building. Would be on the first Tuesday of the month from midnight to 5 a.m., no parking. Tow away zone. We would probably put signs to that effect so to make people aware that that is something we would enforce, because that allows us to get in there and clean if we're doing street sweeping, which we do on Tuesday nights. We come in at midnight and work from there. And that would also allow in the wintertime, if we have enough snow accumulation where we want to remove snow, we can have that part of the lot cleared out so we can come in and physically remove the snow, truck it away. Normally, obviously, during a snowstorm, we allow parking and encourage parking in off-street lots so we can get the cars off the streets to plow.
We would lift the restriction of the snowstorm.
Yeah, we lift it and encourage people to go there. Of course, if we wanted to, not on a different night other than the Tuesday, if we wanted to do something there, we could still, like we do now, post these temporary no parking signs, police order, you see those orange signs around. If we post those 12 hours or more in advance, that gives us the ability to ticket and tow and clear the lot. That doesn't work very well when you have a lot that is intended to be longer term parking. And so having a regular, sign in place with a regular schedule, I think it'd be easier to get people accustomed to and learn to move their car. And so by doing half the lot at a time, given Deep Street law offices right there, other downtown residents may be parking there overnight, it gives them the ability just to move their car to the north section, we're doing the south section. And then the next week, so we propose the north section of lot by the YMCA, and the northern section would be the second Tuesday of the month, midnight to 5 a.m. park. Also, in the second Tuesday of the month, we would have no parking in the Wall Street lot. And then the third Tuesday of the month would be the Market Street lot. That's the new one we're talking about, 47 Market Street, which we intend to call the Market Street parking lot because there will be just one. Most people won't know what number they're at. And the Westcott lot will be the fourth Tuesday of the month. And City Hall lot will be posted no parking midnight to 5 a.m. every night. Right now it's posted as City Hall business only. Now, that's not one where we would be towing every night. That's something you do when you really need to. But that's how it would be posted. That's the thinking, so.
I'm gonna probably step into something here, and I don't really mean to
Go for it.
sound. Is there something we can do on council nights about getting the city vehicles out of the parking lot here at City Hall, so there's ample parking for people where they park down? Especially if we get the transit hooked up, maybe we can get them down by the transit hub for that. I understand that they're gonna need it for later on during the week, but just like those council meetings or the big meetings that we know that we're gonna be drawing a lot of people. I mean, sometimes you see where our codes went out and they clean a yard up and stuff, and it's parked right there with the trash, and people are walking by it, and stuff's hanging out over it. And I'm just trying to think of.
Yeah, we can look at that. The only question though is it just council meetings, or you can have a heavily attended landmarks meeting or planning commission meeting, depending on the meeting. Some
I would think
meetings
I would
be.
kind of go like a potential heavy meeting that we know is going to be heavy. I mean, I don't want to restrict you guys saying, oh, there's no parking here ever whatsoever. That's not my intent. My intent is, like, some of these council meetings we come into, it's hard for people to find parking. Sometimes we have issues finding parking. Sometimes you go to the zoning board when you got a big potential, and everybody comes to, because.
Yeah, we'll talk internally about how to do that, how to get that communication down where it's
Yeah.
effective. That's the only issue with not doing it all the time, and doing it, you get to communicate to the right people timely to make sure they move. But I understand the point.
No, I mean, I was trying to be like not a hindrance, but if it's easier for you guys to make it that no parking there, that's fine too, but I didn't want to be that restrictive, if that makes sense. Like, it's just one of those heavy meetings where we know, when you got 3-4 city trucks parked there.
We'll talk internally and see if we can come up with something. I'll let you know one way or the other.
Appreciate it.
understanding of the concern is that, you know, I don't think it's gonna meet, it's not the best service we could possibly provide. That would be us with shovels between cars, removing snow around, basically cleaning off people's cars for them and move the snow out of the way. That's just obviously not something we're doing. Not to be, you know, I'm not joking. That would be the best service we could provide. We're not doing that. We don't have the staff. There's a liability concern there too. But what this will do is make sure that every week there is an opportunity, if the snow accumulation demands it, that we can come through and clear the lot. You know, so if there is snow built up between cars, we can get through there, we can put some salt down. So I think it can help things, but it probably won't eliminate the complaint altogether. I think we'll still get it. It's not gonna be perfect.
Which lasts only once a month, so.
Yeah, or once a month, yeah, it's a month. You know, if we, like in other cases in the past, when we've had significant snow, we need to remove snow, there's nowhere left to push it, then we'll have to temporary, you know, parking on the post and deal with it, but, no, it's not gonna eliminate the complaints, I don't think.
I just wonder if it speaks to the complaint a little.
I
It does,
think,
yeah,
I
somewhat.
think it does speak to, like, my impression was that it was a desire for ongoing, regular maintenance,
Right.
you know, that was,
Attention.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, to that parking lot, and it will speak to that piece of it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like I wrote back to you earlier today, it's somewhere we're having a breakdown in communication. Whether it's we're not communicating right or they just don't like what we're saying. But we are communicating. We are trying to fix the problem. We're trying to take it head on. We're not pushing it. What people also have to understand is when you get that nuisance snow, where you don't have a big snowfall where everybody goes, oh, I gotta move my car. You get this nuisance snow, that tends to build up a lot, that freezes. Once that freezes, it's harder to get off. I mean, you could sit there all day, you could put a bucket full of salt down there, and it's not gonna do much until you can start getting warmer temperatures. You know, I don't know as though that we're gonna have a system that, and listening to what the complaint was, we're never gonna have a system that's gonna be 100%.
Yeah.
Right,
Service provider.
Yes.
Yeah.
Snow removal service.
Yeah.
yeah, because again, this is once a month, you know, and that is
Yeah.
regular attention. I think that ultimately
important.
they would have liked to see, you know, even more frequent, but I think this is where we can probably meet them as far as what I'm hearing.
And again, part of it, you know, was looking at was maybe there's no parking up near the building. You know, that's not 24-hour parking up there. That's only gonna be 12-hour parking, something like that. Cause that will at least give you the vehicles through there, and then if they park back there during the morning and day or whatever, they can get in and get out. You know, but at night they have to go out with their vehicle, then we get the plow down through there, we can salt down through there, we can,
Yeah. So at least this way we maintain some of that, you know, long-term parking, or longer, you know, term parking and also work in some of that, you know, regular maintenance as well.
you know, I mean, I worked in villages where we went from alternating parking to, during the winter, there was no parking.
Yeah, I heard that. Oswego.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it Oswego?
Oh.
Yeah, Oswego doesn't have any parking
so, I
on
mean,
street.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
For the purposes of.
you need to
snow
clear
removal, yeah.
things. And, you know, we always had like, odd days was one side, even days was the other, you know, so that, and we, as a police department, we went down and we told that's what we had to do, you know. But at the end of the day, I mean, you get a lot of heavy snow. We don't, you know, you run out of places to push real quick. You know, and it's not easy going around cars, in between cars. That's where you tend to get your accidents, if you want to call them that, because snow will push you know. And it's, you know,
My sense of the complaint also, and you know, this may be just my memory, was that there was concern about ice in addition to snow, that it was, you know, such an icy winter, so there's that component
Yes.
to it.
and that was because the cars weren't being moved, so we couldn't get down through there, because they were parking there all for 24, you know. So they brush their
Yep.
car off, then they might disappear to the store, well, we're not in there yet, or we were already in there before they left or whatever, and then by the time you come back, they pull back, and the ice is already built up. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying, like, maybe those spots up close, maybe we'll have to look at, those aren't gonna be 24s.
Yeah. Well, this is, I think that this is a good
Good
first
start.
step
Yes.
for us.
Excellent. That's what I wanted to highlight.
Yes, very good stuff.
So one thing I wanted to add, I don't know if you've all been in the parking lot behind the loft, but we did add, delineators to delineate the sidewalk next to the building. That addressed another concern, as
Yeah.
Yeah.
was a complaint.
I'm not sure if that's the best spot for a sidewalk, though, that's just my opinion.
It's a pathway, I'm not gonna say it's a sidewalk.
Okay, the pathway, I'll check out the pathway.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
But then again, I mean, looking at it, we gotta do something yet.
Yeah, I think you have people walking there.
But when you park out back,
Yeah.
you're walking. to
So
the-
that's something that the city set up, though, you're saying, right?
It's
Okay.
called that, yep.
Thanks.
They're like little orange delineators that stand about this high.
Oh, okay, I think I know
They're
what
every,
you're talking about.
what do we put?
10 feet, maybe
10 feet,
nine.
5 to 10 feet.
It doesn't look
It can
bad.
be run over by a fire truck if needed without
Okay.
causing any damage to the
So
fire
they're
truck.
not going
So
to
there's
impede
no
our
access.
emergency services.
Someone's actually already run over two of them.
Okay.
I thought it was a slalom course, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Culprit.
No, it's just- I did it with a bright yellow city truck, too. I guess it goes right into the handicap reserved on parking space by 34 D Street.
So that one, there should be attachment in the packet as well, I think.
That's basically a new handicap entrance to the water.
Second class.
That's right out in front.
Yes.
And it looks like it's the
Oh, yeah.
like last spot before, or first, whatever, you know,
Yes.
right next
Closest-
to
closest
the
to
entrance
the
there.
driveway, so
Yep.
that
Makes sense.
you can put ADA accessibility aspect without having to mess with the curb.
D Street, not Main Street. It may look a little bit better on the picture.
Oh, yeah, the other one is, that's for no.
Do it say Main Street on the?
No, no,
No,
no.
I
it's
look-
on the back
Oh,
side.
back.
So is this in front of, just to kind of orient, is this in front of the Hartwick,
Other end.
Other end.
Other end.
Yeah.
oh, yes, I see, there's, the parking lot is there, I see, yep,
Yeah, so it'd be that.
yep, yep.
So this would be in addition to, because I think we've talked about that we've already met like the bare minimums, right? So this would be an additional
Yes.
handicap reserve spot, okay.
That's correct. We have 7 in the parking lot itself now. I think we're only reporting 6.
Okay, that was gonna be my
It's
next question.
25 for every, sorry, 1 handicap spot for every 25 spots.
Yeah.
So this would give us 8 in the area.
Was that, is this coming out of part of that other complaint?
Yes.
Or did we take one away? Because we took one away somewhere, didn't we? When we took part, or did we just take a parking spot away because it was a line of sight coming
Well,
out?
that was just a
It's
parking
already-
spot. Yeah, that was just a parking spot.
And it was down the street.
I was like, I know it wasn't crazy. I knew we did something.
Yeah. This, I believe was requested because of the population of the building.
Okay.
It was advocated for. Is my understanding?
Different parties, though,
Yeah.
different.
Well, I guess anybody that has a handicap sticker can park there.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not reserved for any tenant or anything. It's just,
It's a public, it's a.
Yeah.
Public.
okay. No. We're gonna have to put that in the code, Chris.
Yes. That'll be a code change. I assume you have to do some, it's not, probably not 282 for the parking lot changes, Greg?
It is in that same chapter. It's a different section of it, yeah. They'll both be, both C and D will be, council motions. Do you want those on council consent agenda as opposed to discussion, either of those?
I put them on consent.
So,
The handicap.
yeah,
Same with the
Parking.
parking lot.
Yes.
yeah, I'm happy with that.
Alright, thanks.
The times for the, well,
Okay. E, Main Street loading zone relocation.
Now we can flip to the other side.
Now I can use that one. Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so this one, right now in front of the Red Jug Pub / Tiger Asian, has a loading zone. It's on the north side of the street, so westbound traffic, southwestbound. We'd like to move that to the other side of the street over by like Indian Grill where Rufino's formerly was. So we're not losing any parking spaces or loading zone, we're just swapping them. The reason for that is we've got Miller Plaza. There's always been kind of an issue there when there is an event there, like so now, it used to be the farmer's market was there, they had issues loading in and out, they're not there anymore, but we have other events like these, Friday and Saturday night bands that are playing, they'll have to load their equipment in and out. I think it'll be easier rather than having them have to try to catch a parking space at India Open or have someone hold it off for them. There'll be a loading zone, for these night performances, it'll be pretty easy to get in there because most of the commercial loading trucks are coming during the day. So it kind of maintains our commercial loading zone while allowing a little bit easier access to the plaza for those kind of events. Also for DPW vehicles, if we're going to maintain, that kind of thing. And it's still a centrally located loading zone for downtown, so I don't think it negatively impacts the, vehicles that are delivering. It's just a matter they'll have to get used to coming a different direction to get to that one.
and so then the current loading zone will be converted to two parking?
We add
It's like,
4 parking spaces, there's 1 there now, so it adds 3 more.
Wow.
I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense as far as being able to have better access to Muller Plaza, especially with our schedule of entertainment, the new, stage that opened up. Sorry.
And the number of parking spots across the street, sorry, just to clarify, how many then would be taken away,
So there's 4 there now, and there would be 1
remaining on the other side, in front of Miller Plaza, there'd be one left? So you're
it's
just
basically
swapping?
Yeah, it's not exactly in front, it's like in front of the buildings, there's a lot of sense, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I know that, oh, okay, yeah.
It's always worth giving something a shot and see how it goes.
Yeah, I-
It says you can't change it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, with our investment in the plaza and everything, I think that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for.
And maybe it'll be kind of like a streamlining thing, so maybe make it easier too.
Yep. Same thing with as organized events in the plaza, I can tell you, that would be a lot easier.
Yep, I'm okay with giving that a shot, so that's
Also
gonna be
for
another,
282 council motion.
okay. Here comes a big one.
Buckle up.
Roundabout temporary traffic
Oh,
control.
yes.
Yep.
And I am gonna actually let you go because I know you wanted to have this, so.
Well, so, there is the street, Galt Ave, in my ward that's been inundated. It's a small, narrow street that is really not equipped for the amount of traffic that's on there now. And we're looking at a fairly significant chunk of time between now and November that they're gonna be trying to manage. And I think people on the street are nervous. The housing is close to the curb and to traffic. And, it's overwhelmed. It's really just not constructive in any way, shape, or form for the volume that's currently there. So I was curious about, potential, maybe remapping, temporary remapping of the street. And I had been walking around looking to see that, you know, if there was any possibility of changing the direction even of Galt so that there isn't that, possibility for drivers to turn onto Galt, they would have to be, directed to Wallen. So reversing the direction, I don't know if that's, something that could be temporarily done, but that was something that I had been thinking about as one Band-Aid. And Walling, with the thought being that Walling can accommodate far more traffic, the volume, can be higher because it is a two-lane road, and there are lights. So that was just one.
Right, 'cause I always had Pine Street.
Right. Though that is already closed, I mean, has, you know, large sign that says, just local traffic, so that is something that is restricted, whereas Galt isn't, as far as I'm aware.
I also had a communication from a constituent with concern about Galt.
Galt
And that,
specifically.
yeah, Galt specifically, and that it should be, they would prefer to see it redirected, to Wallen, as well.
All right, Chris, I saw you with your hand up.
So.
You're
the
gonna
issue
tell me why we
lies-
can't do it is because of DOT and liability.
The issue lies in that this is not our project.
Right,
It's a
yeah.
DOT project.
right.
And if we touch the sign, we take over full liability for the project. So I have been forwarding all the concerns you
Yep.
guys have been sharing with me and Greg, and I've been passing them all on to DOT. And thus far, I feel like they've listened to us, but really haven't acted too much. They're kind of like, you know, hear us,
Right.
but I'm not seeing anything changing. One thing that they've mentioned to me is they feel that people are misunderstanding the detours, that they're using pedestrian detours as if they were traffic detours. That was one issue related to the Pine Street one.
Okay. They're probably
That
right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a little pedestrian, so they should, you know, the pedestrian detours are orange, a little pedestrian on the
Right.
sign, whereas the traffic detours are white.
Okay.
There's a clear distinction between them, but I don't think everyone
No.
is getting that.
Okay.
So that is one issue.
Right.
Um,
Though, am I correct in that Pine Street is very clearly marked as local traffic only? And Galt is not, as far as I'm aware.
Problem is, if you go past Walling, your last chance to get out of the construction area is to take Galt.
Right.
And that's what's happening.
Right.
In a perfect world, if they could block the traffic off at Walling, then you'd have all those properties from the road construction to
Right.
Walling that would be affected by,
Right.
you know, to get in and out of their properties. So it's not, it's just, the location is very difficult.
Right.
So the impression that I had of the feedback that we got is that they were listening, but that, you know, our local traffic, you know, concerns were not relevant, you know, to how they were managing the traffic. So, and I certainly don't want to do something that is gonna have us take over the liability for that project, but is there a way that we could add signs, in a way that would not do that? Like our own local signs for certain areas?
They did request that I install signage for a blind curve at the intersection of Prospect and Grand, which we were going to do, but our sign machine, is having issues.
Okay.
Carrie and I can talk about it again.
We
Yeah.
talked about it today. Okay.
So we're gonna make a new sign for that area, but that's our road, and it's already, probably should already have a sign.
Yeah, yeah.
Because of that.
It really is a blind curve.
I have a meeting scheduled with DOT Thursday. I don't know if Gregory, you planning on going with me to that one? We're scheduled 9:00.
I think I had something else. But I can, potentially. I can attend it, it's gonna be back.
Well, right, I'm still going to, I'm gonna go to this meeting, I'm gonna emphasize the concern that we received
Okay.
from the public and see if there's something that they would be willing to adjust to make it smoother. I can't promise anything. I mean,
It's just really, I mean, I have to say, in my neck of the woods, it's, the traffic is just almost unmanageable. And for residents, I think it's really been a dramatic change. I know it's temporary, I understand, but still, it's many months for dealing with this.
I would just note that phase one, according to their schedule, should be switching to phase two in early August. And that's when things open up a lot more. So this won't be nearly the issue it is now, and once phase two starts. It's still a month and a half.
So maybe it's more temporary than,
Okay, because I was thinking it was, yeah, maybe a little longer, but that phase two, I remember that there were different,
yeah.
detours.
So if it's is it possible to get specific with them if they, you know, would be open to changing the direction of that street?
I was wondering if I could, maybe get them to put a sign on the wall that says last possible turn.
Yeah.
or-
Yeah.
I'm coming, spitballing here, but, maybe some kind of sign that indicates that you need to take a right-hand turn, this is where you need to do it, you need to head north.
Actually, I think a local traffic
Oh,
kind of
the local,
sign, you know,
yeah.
something like that, you know, to discern that, yeah.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Because I know that there are, like, the post office, we don't wanna stop people from getting to the post office, you know, but, you know, let people know beyond this point.
Do you think that would satisfy if we put a sign up that says local traffic only beyond Walling?
I mean, I think that would be wise.
I do too.
I think,
that would be
yeah.
right. Something.
I can make that request.
Okay, thank you.
I was thinking that if you change the direction, then there's not even the option to turn, getting off of, that is, not even the option to turn into it. So many people do call for
Yeah.
Walling because Walling is a light.
Like when I'm on Center Street, I see tons of cars lined up on Gulf, like every time.
I'm hesitant to make goal the opposite direction, because I know we had received a question, someone had requested that it be done prior to this construction. Unless I'm wrong, I vaguely remember us evaluating goal going in a direction. And, our radar device there, can't remember why we didn't do it, but I just don't want some of the things to be permanent
Yeah.
doing it, and, well, I want this to be permanent. I don't know how you feel about it, Greg.
I think it kind of falls in the same category as DOT's decision. If the temporary detour signage is going to say that it's temporarily the other direction. But for us to make that change, like permanently or in any capacity, requires an engineering study. You know, all that DOT has their engineering team on the project. They can look at that and advise and decide if they want to make that part of their detour. But I wouldn't interject that.
The other thing is, what does a person do when they take the call, and there's no, what do you do? Like, where do you turn,
Yeah.
you have people doing U-turns on Main Street there?
Post office.
Yeah,
Oh, I see. Where would they go?
yeah.
If they're coming from the, if it does reverse, then you do,
Right.
yeah. That's true. Yeah, where they then get dumped to.
Kind of like the local traffic only at Walling sign, I think that would be very helpful.
Yes, that's
Like,
probably a good
Store
start.
gives that impression you can still go through if you have a need, but otherwise, turn here.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I think that's what would be, that would be.
Okay.
Good stuff.
It's something.
Something.
It's just too narrow a street for cars. Basically, it's just too.
I just forwarded you the email too, because I don't think I did that before, so that you have that to both Chris and Greg.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
All right.
Thank you for that discussion.
Go right in order. You guys are up. This is gonna be G. It's called Creating a Green Cemetery for Oneonta.
Thank you. We made this presentation to the
Just
environmental
name, you need to
board a couple of weeks ago. My name is Jim Mills. Bob Klosky, 43 Church Street. 48 Woodside. So, Michael, first rock at Side Beach. I thought we were scheduled to come here, so we're just giving you some information about it. Let you know, I'm not sure if you want to endorse it or just if this is information only, but,
The environmental board endorsed it.
endorsed, yeah. We started an organization called the Upper Catskill Natural Burial Association a couple of years ago, and for the past couple of years, we've been active sort of promoting the idea of providing a green cemetery for the people in this region, because right now, if people want that option, the nearest place to go is somewhere past Ithaca or up in the capital region, so there isn't really an option for a green burial here. What a green cemetery is two things. One is that your loved one is placed into the ground in a sort of a biodegradable container. They're not embalmed, so there's not the sort of toxins that go in there. So it's not put into a cement vault, which is, all of those things are very high environmental impact. And so this is just placing the body in the ground, kind of like it was done for 10,000 years before the Civil War. And lets the body decompose, go back naturally. The second part of a green cemetery is the cemetery itself is not groomed into lawns and horticultural things, so that the cemetery itself is sort of kept in a natural state as possible. So it becomes a sort of de facto natural preserve of sorts. So that's what we've been sort of advocating and looking for different kinds of things. We have we've had many conversations with people. There's a growing demand for that sort of things. When you ask a lot of people, they say, well, I just want to be placed in the ground naturally. I don't want to have to, get all these sort of toxins. And in fact, the cremation has become very popular, but that also has a very high environmental impact in terms of carbon footprints and other kinds of things. So this is kind of a very environmentally friendly way. It's good for the city. It's what a lot of people are looking for right now. But they can't do it. There's no place to do it anywhere near here. So we became aware of the city property near College Camp off of Hoffman Road. Kathy Pollock and Michael, and we had this conversation, and we said, well, this might be a good option as a place for a green cemetery. And so that's kind of where it is right now. We think it's a good idea, it's a good possibility, and asking the city, I guess, to look into the options for how that might happen if possible. So,
Also, green burials are economically more attractive than traditional burials. So it's both environmental and financial.
So the particular piece of property that we're looking at right now, we're looking at a number of different ones, but there's a 139-acre parcel just to the south of Hoffman Road and to the west of East Street. If you're going up to College Campus, right before you get there, it's behind the Neelis' house. I don't know if you know where Neelis is, but it's that big piece of property right behind that. There are other pieces of property that the city owns that also might have some possibilities, but that seems for us that's one of the things that you can't put a green cemetery in a forested area. Because a lot of people say, I want to be in a forest, but you can't. There's too many roots. It's impossible to do that. You could create a green cemetery and then reforest over the burials, but you can't start out that way. The sort of model that we look at is the one by Ithaca. It's called Green Springs Natural. It's on the sheet there, but the Green Springs has been doing this for 15 years already. And what they do is, you can have stones that indicate, who's buried in certain places, but it can't stand up. So it allows them to mow the area once a year. So they go in and basically maintain it as a meadow.
You can have plantings, but they have to be natural, native plants to the area. The stone, at least at Green Springs, and we would think probably the same here, would be native stone, not some other kind of marble or something. So it's really fits into the local environment. And some of you may remember Dale Burrington, an art professor who lived on East Street. He died several years ago, and he's buried at Green Springs because there wasn't any place closer. So it's, I think there are a lot of people we.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've heard more and more about it.
We have a pretty long list of people guess for any cemeteries, you have to have an escrow fund for perpetual care. I don't know if the city owns that, you wouldn't necessarily have to do that, but if you have a separate cemetery association, there has to be a $20,000 escrow fund for just making sure that for some reason if the organization goes defunct, that there's money there to tend to it for.
And that fund is less than what it would be for a traditional cemetery, because the kind of upkeep is very different for perpetual care. We're a 501c3 nonprofit.
Our organization cannot run a cemetery because we're not licensed to do that, so, one of the questions is if this were somehow to take place, that either the city would have to own it and run it, maybe with some help from the board, or if the city didn't want to own and run it, then we'd have to create a new organization that could actually be licensed to create and operate a cemetery.
Which we'd be willing to do, because we really are focused, we want to see this happen and be good for the area and the neighborhoods.
So I have a quick question.
Sure.
Just in relation to the space itself, when you say the space is kept as natural as possible, that does not include any sort of markers for the grave sites?
The markers would be at ground level.
Okay, so the family members, whomever, can observe the graves through these in-the-ground markers?
And with GPS today, probably be able to find this with GPS. People want to. But there could be pathways like there are at Green Springs, because there would need to be availability of vehicles getting in to dig graves, for example. But they would be taller, I think, than these.
Yes,
Cars, these natural
Go ahead.
vehicles.
So I just wanted to mention that particular property, we just entered into an agreement with Soho and Water Conservation District to do a reforestation there. We're just waiting to hear about the funding on that. Which I'm pretty sure we're going to get, is to reforest the entire open area. The other thing I want to mention to everybody is that the watershed lands in the city watershed are to protect the city's drinking water. So I would just ask that we have a full evaluation, if this is ever entertained, to make sure it's not going to contaminate the city's water supply.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely would have to be, engineers would.
And you're right, if the city is contracted to turn that whole area back into forest, there's not much we can do, but, if there would be some, what Green Springs has kind of a mix of forest and meadowland, if they just wanted to forest the whole thing, that probably wouldn't work out, but, like, for example, they have a grove, a tree grove that is for people who are, have experienced pregnancy loss and things like that, so it's a place to go and so it's sort of a mixture of forest and open land, but, so that, I don't know, probably negotiation would take place, but that's possible.
That property is measuring it right now, but it's very close to our reservoir. To the closest point, we are 300 yards away from so 3 football fields to the closest point of our reservoir, which,
Reservoir development.
yeah, it's our lower reservoir, and the upper reservoir feeds the lower reservoir through the stream in that area. So I would be very concerned about potential contamination. Our bodies have heavy metals in them.
Yeah.
We decompose. What's left behind is,
Right.
there's environmental issues related to our bodies. So I would be very concerned about this proposition. Another location,
Yeah, it sounds like the location.
was it watershed, is concerning for me.
I think it sounds like a really interesting idea, and it's definitely something I've heard more about, in the past couple of years, especially.
So what are you looking for from the committee?
It's a good question. I think it's information only at this point. I don't know where it goes from here, but, the environmental board made recommendations that go to the council, then, and does the council have to decide, or is,
I think we did.
It'd come, not everything goes right up to the council, there's a recommendation goes to the appropriate committee, which is infrastructure, that's this is what we're talking about. And that's, you know, I think why Mike said have it come here, I just didn't catch it, put it on the docket that it's supposed to come here.
Chris, are there other, city properties that
Greg and I were just texting me about that. There is another site, off Silas Lane. It was previously soccer fields. There's been discussion of doing, solar fields there. Nothing's set in place for that property, so.
But isn't that the
So maybe
Susquehanna?
that's what, is that what you're looking for in terms of the city, is some sort of agreement in terms of land and property, or is it still speculative in terms of what?
Well, we're looking for a property, whether it be city property, private property, someplace to have a cemetery. If the city were interested in Khan's property, we would certainly like to work with the city. And we've talked to, say, the Land Trust, Community Foundation of Otsego County, and other organizations, OCCA, CO 2000, to just let them know what we're trying to do. And all seem very amenable. Otsego Land Trust, for example, has been kind of keeping a lookout for property that may have an easement or something that would allow us to have that fund. As I've said to others, I'm the oldest one of the four of us, and I'd like to have this happen pretty soon.
I don't think any of us are against it, we're just trying to.
Yeah.
I will say yes, it's just to say, I think this is, I've read a bit about these, more generally, and it seems like this is really the future of burial and, yeah, so this I think is something we should be thinking about, talking about.
Are you aware of specific regulations as far as distance from water bodies like rivers,
Yes,
Susquehanna
we've
River?
been looking at a property on the Mill Creek Road, it's town Oneonta and Otsego property. And there was an issue with water there, but there was enough land, that we could do it away from that water source. I don't remember the exact, the regulations says that, the exact amount, maybe like,
Public cemetery regulation, my recollection, I have to go back, but it's far less than I would have thought. It's like 100 feet or something from any sort of, stream or water body. Like, it's not a huge distance. And, so.
Flood zones.
Flood zone.
Yeah, flood zone, certainly would want to avoid the flood
So
zone.
that checks out or knocks out the Silas Lake location.
Okay.
Well, it's into the 100-foot plane, so.
Is that part of the
The
Susquehanna
state of New York has some very
guidelines to
regulations.
Susquehanna River Basin, or whatever they call them, come down through, like,
They're more concerned with water withdrawals, and more of a DEC issue.
Water withdrawal, discharge.
Just a quick question, do you know how many are, currently in existence in New York State? Do you have a number for how many there are of these in terms of locations?
that's a question, Chris.
How many cemeteries are there?
The green.
Agree for this kind of burial? I mean, you have two listed, which is very helpful, and both are in,
Well, there's one up by Albany, there's one past Ithaca, there's one up by Rochester, there's one somewhere in the Hudson Valley, but it's probably less than 10. And it depends on, there's different things, the green burial, there's a national association that sort of certifies them or not, there might be some cemeteries that actually, Jewish burials are kind of like that already. So there might be that in practice a green burial, but it's not certified. So I guess the question is if it's certified or, how far down that. But I think that what we know is that there's nothing near us.
right?
Yeah, I think Ithaca is the closest.
And Ithaca started, Ithaca, but it's actually Newfield, is old enough that they got naturalburial.org as the website.
I mean, it sounds like there's a real potential opportunity with this being,
busy weekend. I think, I'm gonna probably speak for them, I probably should, but I think this is a great idea, and it's interesting. The environmental board be able to take some of the lead on it, maybe try to work with the city staff, with Chris and, or Greg or whoever, with maybe if we can find some property within the city to do this, what the regulations would all be, kind of iron all that out, and then they can come back in front of us, and we can go there, because we'd have everything ironed out to go to the next steps.
It sounds like, actually, from what was just said a moment ago, that this is a Climate Smart Communities plan, potentially, as or part of the programming for Climate Smart. If there was a mention about getting points,
Yeah.
that was a Climate
Yeah.
Smart Communities, which is a statewide program that we're currently members of. And so this would actually be something that the committee, the task force could take up, the Climate Smart Communities Task Force could take up. So that actually is even more specific, so I can take it on, yes,
That would be great.
yeah.
Yeah, would you mind taking that up?
I can absolutely bring it to our next meeting.
Like,
Great, we can talk, yeah, that would be probably quite helpful. We can also touch bases in task force, and then perhaps you can come, sometime, the next few
Sure.
months.
One of the other members of our group is Anna Rutenbeck, who's the director of the Science Discovery Center. But, yeah, and she has actually a lot more expertise on that. She's worked at various green cemeteries, and I think we could give you more detailed information.
So, I think we got a good plan laid out,
Yeah.
and we'll be in touch, and
Thank you.
so should we send you our contact?
That would be really helpful, yeah, that would be great, and then we can have you perhaps come.
Thanks very much,
speak to
Kevin.
us.
Appreciate it.
no, thank you, this is, I'm glad we put this on here.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
It's been very interesting to hear what you were talking about.
More
Oh,
generally,
good.
right?
So glad to hear. That's what we're here for.
Most people that come into these kinds of meetings because we're more laid back and, talk and council meetings are
You don't have to borrow.
We're glad.
All right, Chris, I can't read my handwriting here.
Oh, that's right, you have two more.
H is deposit, parks.
So we have had issues with events that have taken place in the park that have not been, been organized by private organizations or not for-profit groups, where they left the park kind of a mess at the end of the event. And I would like to see a deposit similar to what we do with the pavilions for these events, so that if they do leave the park a mess, that it comes off their deposit.
Comes off what?
Their deposit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. In favor, yeah.
I mean, it sounds like it's very similar to a policy we already have in place, we just don't have something set up for enforcement with that specifically. Okay.
So I don't know if this needs to go for park and rec talk discussion.
I
We just do it here.
think we're already
Finance
here.
Discussion.
We would just need to maybe think about then what would be the deposit amount.
Was legislated doing they went through that whole administrative
Yes.
manual,
I
right?
think that's all set, right?
What do
I mean, we could ask,
You said-
we could ask legislators just to give us, instead of them taking it on their plate, because they got so much too, is if they have an amount in mind,
Right?
and we'll just pass it through here and take it up to the council. Or unless you guys have a amount in mind, and we'll just take it up to the
Well,
council.
That's what I'm wondering, if there's already maybe an amount that's.
What amount do we do for the pavilions?
We do 100 for the pavilions. I don't think, just based on the timeline that you expressed it to this morning, that would be sufficient. But
Yeah.
How long did it take this
500
one?
to 1,000. 4 hours. 4 hours to clean up, clean up. I'm thinking $500 to $1,000 deposit.
I
I
think,
don't know if that's too steep or not.
personally, I think 1,000 might be a bit much. I think 500.
500, I think seems reasonable.
Because you've got it back up.
Yeah.
Isn't there something with the pavilions too, like if they leave it, and they come back for another permit, we can deny it?
For
too?
I'm not necessarily looking to deny, because I know a lot of people look forward to some of these events, but I just really want to make the event organizers more responsible
Okay.
for the mess that's generated. I don't wanna, I don't know. I'm not feeling strongly that way.
It was just a general question, yeah.
It sounds like you're looking more for, some accountability with
Yes.
that, rather than, okay.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, like, the event we just had recently, we told them where they could take all the trash. Yeah, they piled it up in the park for us to clean up. They were supposed to take it to the dumpster behind we had a meeting, every event organizer, we had a meeting for it. And, I don't know what happened, but
Can I hit that one from here too?
I just wanna make them more,
Yeah,
more
But
responsible.
absolutely, that's a pile of
Jeez.
garbage that was, there was a pile of
That's the
garbage.
bit, there was
It
more.
was, I went through the park on Sunday, and observed it. It was much more than this. It was something that kind of drew your attention to what happened here.
Okay.
I'm all for putting deposit there.
Yeah.
And it's not just this organization, it's been multiple organizations.
Sure,
Right,
this is just
right.
the latest,
It's-
right,
yeah.
the
I
latest
just want
instance.
to be clear that it's not one organization.
I mean, especially if you're giving them, like, if you put a space there, you put a dumpster, or you put something there, and you tell them where to go, and then they just leave piles.
Yes.
I think that's not,
All they had to do was
Nice.
take it all and just dump it in the dumpster, and that would have been it. That's all we're looking for.
you know,
They're
4 hours, and that's 4 hours of time that we can't utilize our people
Yeah,
for
we give
stuff.
them bags, we give them access to the, craft pavilion to get extra bags if they need them. Yeah, so,
Yeah, that sounds.
yeah, provide them resources to make sure that doesn't happen. I mean, they make a lot of it, but not all of it.
Yeah, I'm in favor, let's start at 500.
500,
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, the council can modify or whatever when we discuss it up there, but let's
Yeah.
put something up on the next meeting.
Yep.
Get the deposit
Register
up there.
Awesome.
I would say take effect immediately
Yeah,
upon passage of the deposit.
So this would just be a modification of the fee schedule
Fee schedule.
without any ordinance change report? Okay, so we can bring it to finance committee Thursday, the next,
And then council.
this week, yeah.
Yeah, already.
Whatever.
Already.
We can also meet next week.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, wait, yeah, more about you.
Thank you.
Can you turn off the televisions? please?
Yeah, I will. Check in.
Or do you watch
We
it?
don't need to watch that.
I mean, you're gonna watch me do my minutes.
I'm gonna call it right here. I thought you were gonna have pictures of the bathroom.
Oh.
Thank you for not providing this.
That's the next topic.
That's facilities meeting every Monday. I get to see pictures of
Okay.
bathrooms. All right, go ahead.
Go ahead. All right, so we had agreed, or I got permission to close all the other bathrooms except for the Mansky bathroom and the pickleball court bathroom. That has worked out fantastic. The porta johns are working out fantastic,
Until,
but we kept the pickleball court and the Mansky field bathrooms open. And they're still an issue. We're still getting people spending the night in them. They're not getting locked at night because, the police department's busy. They're just busy. They're understaffed. So, I would like to propose closing the pickleball court bathroom and putting a porta john there. And I would like to close the Damascus field bathrooms and only open them when Gary has events. And Gary, I spoke with Gary, and he's on board with opening the bathrooms and closing them. And we will still do the maintenance for the bathrooms. I would still have to provide one handicap, porta john for the, trailways while they're still there through September, October, whenever March goes.
so the thing is the issue that they're not getting locked, so people are spending the night in them.
Yes.
Okay, here's an unpopular thing. Instead of just relying on the police department to do it, can the fire department get a key and go down and close them up?
That hasn't been explored.
guess is they're gonna say it's not in their job titles, because we've asked them to do lower grades American flags for us, so we don't have to pay overtime to DPW staff, and they won't do it.
Well, I can go look and I can sit down with Greg and I'll go through the contract and look, there's gotta be, we're a city, we're supposed to be working together. There's not one job that's
Yeah,
more
together.
important than another job.
Absolutely.
That's the way I look at it. And before we go having expenses of more porta johns and stuff, if we could have somebody that's already on staff go down and lock up bathrooms. I know it's gonna be unpopular, I've been in the unpopular seat a lot, but
Well, you're asking for the bathroom, that's for the light pole too.
well, I got no problem asking for that, I mean,
We're paying on a Sunday or Saturday, Saturday we pay time and a half, Sunday we pay double time, and on a holiday we're paying time and a half, and we're giving them the holiday time as time that they can use for vacation another time. So the city's paying overtime to DPW staff to raise and lower flags when we have other departments that are here 24/7.
And that's what I'm saying, we're a city, we work together, we have to, say not one job is more important than another job.
Right, why, that seems that seems like something that we can improve instead of, paying overtime. We have, staff that are available, that seems like something we could work on.
We're supposed to be, knock on a better word, a family, the city's supposed to be a family. We need to start working as a family to get things done. So, I mean, I'm not against doing what you're requesting or anything like that, but before we jump to that, the expense of extra stuff and, if,
Are you okay if we,
Yeah, if that's something you guys wanna take on,
Yeah, that's-
don't take the
exactly.
video and do it, I know, we're leading the charge for this.
well, no, we're directing our
right,
city
city
administrator off of this
right,
meeting to have that conversation that
yes, we as a
Yes.
council, yes.
as a,
I agree.
yes,
As a committee,
I'll stand behind you, Greg.
is to have that conversation that, we are a city, we're here to work together and, if one department's super busy and another one can grab the key to lock it up. If they go down, they don't feel sick. I know an argument's gonna come up, well, what happens if somebody's in there, we're not there to clean? Then you call the police, they'll eventually come down and clear them out, and then you lock it up. I mean, that's it. If you get down there and it just needs to be quickly locked up, lock it up. I would have the same conversation with the flags. If they're here, any department should be able to raise and lower a flag. I don't know why we're splitting hairs over certain things.
what time do the, restrooms close? 10.
And just since we're on the topic of the bathrooms, you said the porta potties seem to be working out, because I've gotten a little bit of, question about how did that work out and things.
It's been working out, we need to figure out.
How do they stop stealing
Secure
toilet
paper go.
Okay, yeah, because I was gonna say, I did see that there was one on Saturday that was knocked over, I think it was.
Yes,
They like to steal the toilet paper.
we have some.
But in general, it seems to be working out so
We
far.
have some anchor ideas, soil anchor ideas that we're gonna try.
Okay.
Not the first
I don't know if they're, you know, are they coming back?
We are looking to construct new benches around the 4 trees that are there. They'll be circular and kind.
Ooh, nice.
Greg actually came back with a great idea from his vacation in Sweden that we're going to try to replicate.
Awesome.
Can't go to another city and not see.
That's
the
right.
ideas.
See,
Lots of
you were still working and doing research the whole time.
Always. Can't help it.
You still don't get any more pay, that's just.
I'm salaried, Scott, I know. I'll put an hour of my time.
Okay, but that's cool, so
As
building new
far
ben-
as the benches that were along the, I guess we could say, property boundary between the city and the Marks,
Yeah.
we're only bringing 2 of those benches back. The other,
Oh, like the ones along.
yeah, they're like, the, you know, they're
Yeah,
about
yeah.
80 wide. Those, only 2 of those are coming back. The rest, we're gonna relocate them, to the, paved walkway along Elways. The new one in the middle, there's a couple spots there, and we have open spots for benches, so we're relocating them there.
So I actually had this idea from the travel that I took last year to Montreal, where I saw lots of open public spaces with presumably, probably privately owned, but for public use, Adirondack chairs. And so I thought it could be a good inclusion for, you know, a plaza. It would just be a question, I guess, maybe of, you know, people think it would be useful to have Adirondack chairs there. They're very inviting as, you know, chairs go. And then, you know, there'd be the question, would you want something like that there? And what would you do about them not disappearing? So how would you secure them? That was gonna be something I was gonna raise last year, and then it never.
As far as securing them, we bolt all of our benches to the concrete. So if we were, any kind of bench we would get, we would bolt it to the concrete so no one can simply just lift and walk away with them. So as far as security, put other stuff in the concrete, we would bolt it down.
So the advantage also is that they are, you know, they're accessible as chairs go, and they come in like a whole range of color. They're very colorful, so it can be, they're inviting in that way too. So that was my, I was gonna raise, I've been meaning to raise that. And of course, last year and this year we have 4 to do in that space, so it's maybe less of a pressing issue. If there are gonna be the removal of these benches and there isn't the same amount of seating, these could be another alternative. Oh, and they're also, they're low cost. They're not expensive.
Rick, did you want to talk about our idea with the trailer and the tables and chairs that we're getting, umbrellas and everything?
Did we bring that for this committee or was it
Yeah,
finance?
finance.
Or both?
I remember hearing about it.
What part do you mean?
Oh, okay.
Just the fact that we're gonna have all of this
Yeah.
infrastructure that we put out for events.
And we built, Chris's, Gene's group built that, shed in the corner of the
Yes,
plaza. Have you
that
seen
looks
that?
really
To
nice.
store all the stuff that
Yep.
Kaler and Fordu, you know, typically last summer just kind of piled in the corner and
Right.
chained it up. Now it'll be tucked away. There's chairs and tables in there. So I think with the circular benches around the trees, there'll be just as much seating as there was before. You know, you can always add more. I guess another consideration is whether you want to have fixed seating, more fixed seating or more flexible space.
That's true.
Because it
The
is
more
nice.
fixed you have,
You're
the
out there
less
today.
flexible space you have, I guess, too.
It just seems more open now with fewer light
Yeah.
poles and the benches gone. It's kind of, it's nicer.
It's opened it up.
That's right, I didn't even think about that, the lighting, but yeah, I mean, it looks really nice, and that stage is just
I
stunning,
don't think
like
the
honestly.
lighting value has changed at all with those
Yeah, I didn't
lights.
even think about that.
And we're gonna be adding tree lights. We've got street lights where we put the trees.
Okay, cool. So there's still some work to be done.
So yeah, I
That's-
guess
that's
that's a design
great.
question that we could think about, right? Stationary versus mobile seating.
But also, I just, you know, since it was mentioned, that little shed that was built, I think that's really nice. And, you know, I think everything that Kaler has is great. Like, he did that, I was really impressed with that, map that they created with the students, you know, that can be used for directions and for kids to play on, you know, so that's really cool. But I think having a dedicated space for that to be stored is really great because it was kind of an eyesore to have stuff just kind of cluttered in a corner,
That was
you know?
literally-
Especially now that we're having events there on a regular basis, you know, it'll be great to have it looking clean and nice,
That was
so.
a last minute thing.
No, that was
I had to do it,
fantastic.
and they like did it in like a week.
Yeah.
It's beautiful though.
Yeah.
It's really nice. It blends
They
in.
did that all in.
Yeah.
I just asked them, what we need something to store things in, and they built it.
We managed to wrangle, we didn't have to do wrangling, but Kaler agreed to water all the new plantings in the plaza today, 'cause he's gonna be having the, the kids' water features that are out in the plaza on hot
Yes.
days like this week, so he's like, oh, I'll water the plants for him, actually, takes some of the thing off the G to it, so
Yeah.
it works out well having him there.
He's excited about the new water features, I guess, that they have. He was talking about it, but yeah. The landscaping was really nice too.
That was all our crew.
It was really, yeah, it's really nicely done. Yeah.
They did the bushes along the boundary, where the shed is, they did all the plantings of the hostas and everything. That was our group, our facility manager.
I have a question, related actually to the, point about having, kids have water features. What is the city doing right now for cooling centers, just over the next couple of days? I don't think it's necessarily gonna be as hot as other places here, but it's still gonna be quite warm. It's the warmest it's been in a year. So I was just curious if that's something we, as an infrastructure committee, I know we've talked about
I was
it.
gonna say, the Community Wellness Committee has
Yeah.
been doing research and we've done outreach, to try to identify some places. There are places in the town of Oneonta. We don't have a dedicated place in the city of Oneonta, but we are still researching some options. One idea that I came across recently, over the weekend, that I thought was interesting was that, I think it was in, Broome, maybe in Broome County, that they were offering free bus rides, on extremely hot days, so that people could just get on the bus and ride the bus. And that was an idea that appealed to me because that's something that, we already have buses running. That's, something that we already provide, so that was something I was interested in looking into.
Yes, it was Broome County. Or is Broome County.
Thank you. I know I saved a picture of it, but,
The YMCA does have,
oh, yes, that's right.
do you have the time, Carrie?
I was gonna say, yeah.
Thirty there.
I think that the library offered something, so.
Yeah, they're doing free swim.
But again, like,
But-
walking by the Wilbur Park pool, it's all ready to go, it's sitting there, it's filled with water, and yet
And it
it's not
opens-
open until the
right.
28th.
Because the school.
Because the school has to
Right.
graduate first, before
Yeah.
it gets to be.
That's why, and it is true that it's nice that they're doing that, but it's certainly, it's able to meet a small, I think, niche, it seemed like it was aimed for children, which is, yeah. So, I don't know, that's one thing I'm interested in looking into, though, is the potential of using OPT, more actively in cooling efforts for the city.
Like the Chicago Cubs hired the city of Chicago buses to park in front of the stadium for cooling centers.
Yeah, Don had even, because I saw Don over the weekend, Matheson, and I showed it to him, and he suggested, why don't we park a bus? And I said, well, would we need to do that though, if we already have buses running? Because then that's running another bus, more staff, My idea was more just, let's utilize what we already have, rather than trying to create something new, that would be, additional funding and all of that we're trying to avoid, so.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So I have one thing, but I don't want to, I don't think we need to really discuss it tonight, or something, just maybe for the next meeting to come on is, I've had a couple of people that have come back to the community that have left from when they were younger to now, and they asked, what happened to Oneonta? It used to be a vibrant place, there used to be a lot going on,
Yeah.
and now there seems to be nothing, or very little. They didn't use the word nothing, they said very little.
Down, either speaking specifically of the city, like Main Street, or other areas? Or just
Other areas
overall?
like our parks and, how we used to have the rec programs
Oh,
and
yeah.
and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I sit there and say, well, we give the whole, budget's tight and all that stuff. Decisions made prior to our councils. Not that they made any wrong decisions, everybody's making the best decisions they can with what they got in front of them. But maybe we need to think about what our strategic plans and stuff like that is, how are we gonna make it start looking at how to make it vibrant again.
I feel like this came up maybe in like a ward meeting that I had, but very similar kind of thing about how, you know, people want to see more events, you know, and I know the city is not the one to hold those events, but what can we do to facilitate, you know, and encourage more of those events? Like, I think the OCI grant is a good initiative, you know, things like that. So what else, you know, how can we support that happening?
I just wanted to throw that out there for maybe a future discussion, just, because, I mean, you know, I've been hearing it more and more that as some people have come back with renewed interest, that they're kind of like, well, what happened to the city? It's not the city I left. And I guess from where I grew up to where I am now, I can see like, you know, we had like the pony leagues and we had the T-balls and Rotary picked up a lot of this stuff, but there was always stuff going on in the parks in the summer and, you know, but that's it. Anybody else have anything else?
No, I was gonna say, I think COVID explains
Yeah, that's
in
true.
recent times,
Yes.
Right.
a lot of that decline in activities that really hasn't picked back up, but there's
Yep.
other explanations too, so.
Yep, 100%. I tell them, go down and look at the pickleball court, because that thing's packed almost every time you walk
Oh,
by.
yeah. And I know, like, this weekend
true.
especially, I couldn't make it to all the things that I was invited to. Like, Saturday alone, I